Howdy. Howdy. For those of you watching at a later time. I'm not sure why or what's up, but my guides told me to go for a little walk, take you guys to the nature. I have chills, but it's hot outside, so there's some energy that needs to be channeled, I guess. So I'm just gonna take it. So I will say the alignments that we have right now, or that we are traversing. Hey Becca, the alignments that we're traversing right now, they're really beautiful. I've been sitting with the energy for the last couple of days. I'm not gonna lie, this full moon lunar eclipse, it's it's really been making me sit the fuck down and look at what's going on around. Sorry, I was still connected to my internet. But it's making me sit down and really reevaluate like where I'm placing my energy and kind of like what I have going on in my own personal life, you know? And the biggest question that I've been sitting with is, what is the purpose of, I thought I passed my little path. What is the purpose of like what I'm doing, right? Like, what is the purpose? And my purpose has always been to bring together a community and a family, and to really to have that authenticity around me all the time. Now, what I recognize with this lunar eclipse kind of upon us, the last solar eclipse, which was in December, I my manifestation was, they were very simple, but they were, I wanted to have a space of my own, I want to have, healthy relationships. I want to be around people that care. And I want to live in such a way that, now I feel weird going down there. Okay, whatever. Nature. But what was I saying? Sorry. People. So this other thing that I've been navigating too is people have the tendency to project their energy, and they don't realize they're projecting it. So 90% of the time when we're feeling energy, it's the projection of those around us. But that's another topic. But I've just been recognizing that the more that technology is around, the more that we allow ourselves to become separated, yet this weird unification at the same time. I don't know. It's been interesting. But once I get out here in nature, I get kind of away from everybody. I can channel energy a little bit better. But again, like I was saying, as we begin building a new earth, and a new earth is already built, but as we begin really living a new earth, as we begin building and like living in this existence of the fifth dimension, things will have to change. And how do I put this? When Saturn entered into Aquarius, I actually, in my chart placements, have Saturn in Aquarius. Please, no ticks on me for further use of the walk I don't want to go home with la cheeks. And so I've been sitting with, hey, I'm gonna set my tripod up while I talk. I've been sitting with time, with Father Time, all right? Like I said, my Saturn is in Aquarius in my chart, so there's always been this really very interesting like understanding that I've had with time without knowing my understanding of time. So my guides, I said this in conversation, and my guides have told me to ponder on why I said it. But at one point in time, I said in conversation, I was like, yeah, I just jumped in with time. You know what I mean? Like, I jumped into this paradigm with time. And I've always imagined it on my back. And never understood that because we're like it's sometimes hard to understand when you get visuals or you have experiences. And what I've recognized is like our existence on earth with time is about to end. And what do I mean by that? I had this vision, and I had it several years ago. So the fact that it like nothing's happened with it, I've just been like, well, whatever, right? The backpack of time, the portal on our back, right? So I've been sitting with time and how the only way for consciousness to move forward as humanity, as a collective consciousness, is for us to all get on the same fucking time wave, the same wavelength. We gotta be riding the same wave of time if we really want to start facilitating growth and forward movement from this space. And what I've been recognizing is we've been raising the frequency, we've been elevating consciousness, we've been traversing our past so we can get to this point right here, right now. I didn't realize this until, and I guess that's probably what the urge and the push was for me to make this video, is that tomorrow, so the Mayan calendar ended in 2012. The Mayan calendar ended in 2012. So we've been riding this rip in time space for a little bit. And so tomorrow, the 26th, according to the Aztec calendar, so there's so many different time constructs. Now you understand what I mean. So in accordance to the Aztec calendar, which is in association with the solar, with the sun, and the Mayan calendar is associated with Saturn, the human construct of time. So clocks have to stop. At some point, the clocks will stop. See, we think Y2K never happened. No, Y2K just never happen. It just hasn't happened yet. Technology ending just hasn't happened yet. Do you guys understand what I mean now? And I've said this for years. I said this a couple years ago. It's like, all right, that could happen. The structure could collapse completely. Like the clocks could cut off. The internet could never work again. Our phones may never turn on again. I've had the vision of that happening before. It's I think just with every great culture, every great civilization, at some point in time, they have to end. And that doesn't mean that it's bad, or, it doesn't mean it's bad. Ending isn't bad. It's just the beginning to something new. But we've been in this, like, whoop, bingo, 2012 is now. I, too, have also come into a lot of that information, and I came into it a few years ago. So something that I've been sitting with is like, we just can't wake anybody else up. Like, if you get it, you know. If you don't, there's nothing we can do but be here for you as shit starts to go down. And I told my sister when my mom passed away in 2019, it was immediate guidance. I didn't understand it, but I looked at her and I was like, you'll just know when to cut the Wi-Fi off. You'll know when to turn it off. So I have this feeling or this inclination. I'm starting to get chills again on both arms, my whole body chills. So I've been getting this inclination and this vibe and this feeling that at some point there's going to, how do I put this? I don't even, like, sometimes I don't want to talk about it because it can be terrifying, it can be scary, but and I'm not trying to scare anybody. I really, like, what I say isn't to scare anybody, but Mother Nature and Mother Earth have been screaming at me, yelling at me. And if you're in this live right now, you know how often I am in nature. I'm in nature all the time, every day. Like, it's just what I do. I just listen to nature. I love nature. It's just my life. It's my home. You know, I'm just at one in nature. But and it's like, as you can tell, there's so much, right? So my partner and I were on our walk the other day, and we were talking about, like, we've personally, both of us, just been kind of frustrated, you know? We've been frustrated with where society is, where the collective is. Why are we still fighting? Why is there still so many issues around so many things that literally, if you look at most of us, we haven't, y'all, a fully grown adult male pileated woodpecker just swooped in to its tree over there. And I didn't get it, and I can't see it because if I move, it'll fly away because they're very sensitive animals. But that's just extremely synchronistic. So go look up pileated woodpeckers, an adult male. So back to what I was saying, because that's the birds. They are proof, right? So shit's about to get bad, all right? Shit really is about to go down, and all we can do is be here for each other, all right? All we can do is love and support and be here for one another. Now, I'm going to tell you now, my personal opinion on vaccinations. I don't want to get into politics about it. I don't want to have to express why that is my opinion, but know that I know that that's not an okay thing to do. If I had had the choice, I wouldn't have gotten any of my vaccinations. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Taking it a step further, start looking at the structure with a new set of eyes. And I mean everything. I mean everyone and everything that you come into contact with moving forward from this very point. Look at it not with these eyes, but with this eye. This eye is this eye, and this eye is your soul. Now, I know oftentimes many folks who are around me or within my life or my reality know that I'm a very distant person. I do that because just of the sensitivity of energy. And so to kind of almost to also bring the importance of being present in our reality, right? I was sitting with this earlier today because I have recollection, I have memory of no internet. I have childhood memories of never having internet, of not knowing what it's like before it existed. So that means we all have that recollection, but a lot of us are going to get lost in not knowing what it's like. But that's where the Renaissance is birthed, right? That's where the artists are birthed, is under pressure. Is when you're doing and painting not because you have to or you have to sell something, but because it's coming from your heart. And time is truly art, because what you do with your time is the reality that you build, is what you experience in life. And that's why time is art, and art should equal time, right? We've gotten so lost on literally like survival mode. Like, we are in survival mode as a collective consciousness. I was watching a child in Palestine. He was 10 years old. He's 10 years old rapping to Eminem, but behind him, his entire city is demolished because of war. I think we got shit fucked up somewhere along the way, don't you think? Because at any point in time, if we as a collective consciousness don't do something about it, we got to start, and that's why I think the whole thing is just going to shut off, because not enough people are doing the things. Like, think about it. Right now we're under pandemic, but how many people are standing up against the structure and not wearing a mask? There are times when I do, but then there are times when I don't. And I've been not a lot more lately, because I'm kind of fed up with it. I'm fed up with the stupidity. And I don't mean that at anybody in here, right? I just mean at the whole of it. And I love everybody, don't get me wrong. I'm not calling any one particular person stupid. It's just the nature of where life is right now. Because we're paying to live. We have to pay to feed ourselves. We have to pay to put a roof over our head. We have to pay to have water. But I see free-flowing water right here. Now, I understand there are cities, and those big cities exist, and that's why the structure exists, right? But there's still free-flowing water right there. So maybe there's just too many people on Earth. That could be a potential thing. And maybe the structure is trying to take care of that within itself and in the manner that it is. And that's why there's a pandemic, because they're trying to clear out the ness that they've created for themselves. But we're also like, it's also a social experiment. And at some point in time, we have to stop being the rat. We have to start being more mindful of what we are doing and where we're placing our energy and our focus, and like what we're bringing into our reality, right? So I guess there's just like this rat race. That's been something that's been coming up. I actually have said that a couple times over the last few days, that like I said it this morning. Carmela and I were on our walk, and we were walking down the road and just looking around, and we're lucky where we live. The trailer that we live in, like, it's owned by our family. Like, we're safe, we're sound. We have plenty of garden potential. Like, it's like the universe like knew that we were listening to our hearts, and we just knew how to get out of our own way. But when you look at the city and you understand that they were already experiencing like hardships with food and getting food into the city because of COVID, they've been experiencing this for a couple of years. And even prior to that, like, getting fresh fruits and vegetables into like the heart of New York City and the heart of Philadelphia and the heart of Washington, D.C. is almost impossible because of how tight the turns are and how big the trucks are that supply like Kroger and Walmart. And to be honest with you, a lot of those places aren't in like cities. They're like kind of on the outskirts, and they have grocery stores, but it's like like you have Kmart and stuff like that in inner cities, at least from what I've seen. It's not a lot of grocery stores in the city. They have corner stores and stuff like that, but like, to get to a grocery store, you really have to go far out of the city. You have to drive out to get there. And then you like think about places like Maine. If we didn't have a car, right? If we didn't have means to a car, the closest grocery store in walking distance is took us 2 hours to get there, and there's a dollar store, and it's another, like, it would take us at least 4 or 5 hours to walk to get to the nearest grocery store. So think about it. If the whole structure were to stop, were to cease, were to cut off, then would it not, like, would there not be would there not be instant war? Like, there would be civil war amongst our own people because of the level of survival mode that we're in. And it's almost like they're setting up for another, like, Great Depression era, like, type thing, where, like, the only way you can get help or get sustenance is to get a vaccine, or, you know, or you can't shop here if you don't get a vaccine. Like, does it make sense that those things would be allowed if we're really free? Should there be debt if we're really free? Should I have the level of debt that I have if the United States can have trillions of dollars of debt? Isn't that like the pot calling the kettle black a little bit? You know? And then this is something that came to me the other day. What if China owns America? Because 80% of our imports come from China. And most of what we sell in America is from, like, overseas. And don't you think that maybe the business owners of these companies that are technically in debt because all their money's in assets or offshore accounts, so it's like taking the money out of the pot for yourself and then leaving the pot dry because you just want all the money out of the pot, but you don't want to help anybody putting the money, like, you know what I mean? You see the greed there. Like, they have millions and millions, and there's enough money in offshore accounts that could literally take care of anything on the face of the earth. There's enough money in accounts that could take care of all of the world's problems. And you want to take it a step further, if you have a social security number in America, you're worth millions of dollars. Like, that social security number has like has a bank account, essentially. That's why the information, why, like, our information being sold is so important, and why, like, being aware how much you're using your phone and your technology is important, because they're selling your energy. You're worth money to corporations. That's why your information is sold to them. And your phone company does it, your bank does it, the government has done it and is probably still doing it. I was looking at some paperwork from the VA when I was in the VA. I was in a veterans hospital. And my social security number is just on the bottom of the piece of paper of someone who is labeled or like has been diagnosed with PTSD. So most people with PTSD, like, they never get the proper help, so they struggle with it their entire lives, and they never actually get out of the cycle of having PTSD or being labeled having PTSD or whatever you want to call it, diagnosed. You know, they never have the ability to release that and understand that what they went through was, you know, part of their life's purpose to help them propel forward and to teach them certain things. You know, your soul has a certain path that it's meant to walk down. Like, the soul aspect of life has been ripped out. That's the rip in time space. And the asteroid belt is Tiamat. It was another Earth before Earth existed. You know, Gaia, or Uranus, is the consciousness of Earth. And then, you know, we're separated, so no one particular place has too much weight over the other. But we have to remember that it's all still a unified being, to include the divine nature of time. So we have the construct of time that we perceive as linear, but then we have this cyclical nature where what we are experiencing right now, we have experienced before and we will experience again. We won't know when until that time is. And what we are experiencing right now in this dream realm, or this awakening that we are having, is us awakening to the remembrance of this dream that we dreamt already and are currently now dreaming in parallel and not parallel timelines. So think about it. My higher self we can be in two places at once. We're multidimensional beings. So I'm here, but my higher self I honestly think my higher self exists on a spaceship outside of time space, in this dimension. So I'm humanly here, but my consciousness is in two places at once. When I sleep, my consciousness from here goes there. And I don't always remember my dreams unless I go and I'm visiting someone that needs help, or I'm visiting someone that has helped me. And usually I'm alerted in real life before I have that dream. So for instance, if I am in any kind of contact with you in any way, shape, or form, I've visited you in dreams. I've visited you in astral. I'm there. I'm always around. Like if I think of you, I send myself there, and I give you love. If if you cross my mind, I go there. Even if I can't see you, I send you love. You know what I mean? So I'm like anybody within, like, if your name pops up on my live feed, I send you love. Because I'm not just here physically, I'm also in astral. Like, we're connected here and like above as well. Or it's really within, but that's beside the point. This grass keeps touching me, I keep feeling it. But again, just prepare yourself for what's to come, all right? Don't be surprised by anything that may come in left field or may kind of catch you off guard. I really do feel that something wily is about to happen, and I've been feeling it, but it sometimes it's hard to nail down that date. Like I said, um, I've had many of these visions for years, and so it's almost like they don't want me to pay too much attention to it, but now it's like they're snapping about it. It's like, all right. And something that I saw is like a lot of this energy that we're going to be experiencing until about 2023. Even really up into 2024 and maybe even into 2025. A lot of what we're experiencing now with this energy right now, what we're experiencing, the aftermath. And that restructuring and the rebalance of everything is going to take a while. But it's not going to take as long as we think. And just kind of be prepared to move fluidly like water does. Water is pretty unforgiving. It does, when it's time to change, it changes, and then that's just kind of how it is until it's time to change again. And a lot of the fire energy, along with a lot of the air energy that I've been picking up, is that kind of rapid change, but not out of hand or out of control. Very forward, purposeful movement of energy. What else? I think that's about it. The mosquitoes are getting me, so I'm gonna keep walking. I'm gonna keep talking, but I'm gonna keep walking too. I like to go by the water. I'll show you guys. This is my little spot. I wonder if that woodpecker probably flew away. But I'm gonna see. Yeah, ready and at peace and uncertainty. That's kind of what you have to be. So, you're a lot of what we go through in our childhood prepares us for what we experience in our lives if we allow it to. Now, my childhood was pretty fucking chaotic. I didn't know what normal was. I mean, and what is normal at the end of the day. Yeah, it flew away. So over here, you see that tree bush right in front of me? Oh, tick. Let me get you off. No, sorry, guy. I was waiting for one of those. This little tree bush right here, it likes to get in there's a tree behind there. It likes to go. The woodpecker, but it's not there. It's a big guy. Make sure there's no other ticks on me. All right. So if you haven't already, try and find a space in the woods. Try and find a space in nature that you can just go get in, get away from everything. I always suggest under full moons and new moons, sleeping outside if you can. There's something about the magnetic pull when you sleep on the ground during a full moon. I don't know, it's always helped me really kind of like slingshot that energy. I feel real charged. Yeah, I got a bunch of happy trees up here. Bunch of happy trees. So yeah, Saturn energy, the 9. The 9, I think, reside out in Saturn, in the rings of Saturn. And the 9, they have a few different names. Magenta Pixie channels the white-winged collective consciousness of 9. Feel Good has channeled the 9. I don't know how else to explain the 9 other than they are nameless and faceless beings that represent all of humanity and consciousness on Earth. There are many different people have many different energies with these. I think I'm just gonna go this way. I don't want to deal with those people. There are many different energies for this, but they can help you understand something that ticks. Come on, man. Really hate doing this to you. Just so you know, ticks are considered arachnids. I'll double check myself when I'm done. All right, so yeah, the 9. Talk about the 9. You can contact the 9 if you have the ability to, touch that frequency. Everyone has the ability to do it. It's just something you have to practice. But the 9 can really come in and help you differentiate and discern the infinite amount of energies that you're experiencing with a situation. I usually contact them if I am needing help in some sort of discernment situation. At this point, it's kind of second nature. When I begin talking about something that I'm experiencing, oops, spider, right? Spider on the ground, look at that. When I go to talk about something I'm experiencing, they automatically kind of show up and just kind of help me differentiate between the different things that I'm learning, because that's ultimately school. Earth is school, and people can say, oh, I'm done with Earth school, I'm done with Earth school, but if you're still living on Earth, you are not done with Earth school. If you're still in a human body, your consciousness is still coursing through a human body, there's still stuff to learn. That's not always what people want to hear. And it can sound daunting when maybe you're younger and you're like, I have to learn the rest of my life. Just let it flow. Because life is fun if that's what you make it. And that's something that's actually been coming through a lot. Is are you or are you not already living your dream? I like that. The classroom is not always 4 walls. Yeah, riding the waves. So, are you or are you not living your dream? What have you been attempting to manifest? Ask yourself that. What have I been trying to manifest? Sometimes I can lose sight of what I'm trying to manifest, especially when you manifest it and then you don't, you haven't recognized that you've manifested it. So this full moon, I'm recognizing that I've manifested the life that I want to live, right? I don't have everything that I want, because what would life be if you had it? But I have everything that I need. I have everything that I've wanted to manifest. Carmela and I were talking about the things that we put down in December under the solar eclipse that we had in December. A lot of the things that we put down to manifest, we've manifested. We needed a car to move. We manifested a car, even though it ended up breaking down, and so we don't have a car now, but we got a car. We moved. We both started our own businesses and started making forward progress in a lot of different areas. Carmela is blasting off with her entrepreneurial adventures. We have a family. We're living with ascended beings, and ascended beings aren't always going to look like what you think they should look like. I think there's this idea in the spiritual community that they look a certain way. You have to look a certain way to have a certain vibe. And I think that is misconstrued. And a lot of it is just, it's the surface level stuff of our society. It's kind of filtered into, the spiritual community too. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the journey. And I think that that's very beautiful, because, what better place to get lost in your ego than in a spiritual community? It's probably the most forgiving place, if I'm going to be honest. If the people are centered in their heart as much as they portray that they are, it'll be really easy to move through things. You should be able to have difficult conversations with, people. That's an ascended being, someone you can have a difficult conversation with. If talking to someone feels like you're trying to punch through a brick wall, chances are they're in their lower mind. They're too rigid, too solid. And you'll feel it. You'll know. You'll know. And I think that's the biggest thing moving forward, is a lot of people are going to just start knowing and just start realizing what's been going on, with their friends and their family. This is something that has been really hard for me to adjust to, as I've awakened, as my third eye has begun to pop open. And really all I mean is the distortions of my programming. So when you talk to somebody, when you have a conversation with somebody, when they say something, if it hits you inside, see, and this is where it can be hard to differentiate. Because if you have a hole or blockage in your auric field or in your energy system, you may not be able to discern between what's coming from inside and what's coming from the outside. And that's where you may see a lot of people have the glowing light around someone, that auric light. That's what I feel a lot of people are building or have been building. Because moving forward, we're going to have to be able to protect ourselves even more from the projections. Because, quite literally, this guy should not be mowing his lawn. He just broke his foot. Anyways, that having that strong energy field is what really protects us. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of people forget is that there's no wrong or right way to go about ascertaining this field. It's through your own work, your own determination, your own journey. Literally, anybody that is a teacher out there or a guru out there is only able to reflect to you what they have found within them through their own journey. And the answer can only be found within. And, I feel, sometimes I don't have a whole lot of client work, and I feel a lot of that is just, I'm going to give you the answer you don't want to hear. And, I know a lot of people are okay with hearing that, but I'm always going to tell you to go within. And I know that the people that are meant for me are coming. Like, I'm not worried about that. But it's also understanding that, like, that lack of client work is just a reflection of the fear inside of me, right? So I can't get mad at anybody or anything if it's always reflecting, if it's just reflecting inside of me what I need to release. And it's the same thing with, like, no one can give you the answer. No one has the answer. No one. They can sell you a really cool fucking product or something they may have put together. They can sell you a course that can help you learn yourself, but really it's just you learning you. You don't need to pay for anything. You don't need to pay for anything to ascend. You don't need a certification to teach yoga. You don't need a certification to teach meditation. You don't need a certification to teach chakra balancing or to lead meditations or to be a leader. You don't need certifications for any of this. You just have to trust yourself that you are doing the work and you are in alignment and you are studying, right? You are your own teacher, your own student, and all of us are just a reflection of that along our journey. I'm not saying, like, don't go get a teacher or don't learn under somebody, because they've spent their time learning and studying. That's why they're doing what they're doing, right? It's it's one of those things. A good teacher really isn't a teacher. They would never claim to be a teacher, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, right? They would never claim to be a teacher. They would just be. And I feel like that's a very Taoist way to exist. Because I'm not teaching anybody anything they don't already know. They already know everything. It's within them. We have a shared collective consciousness. That shared collective consciousness is what is helping all of us to ascend. It's I've struggled with this because I will not be getting any certifications. I don't need to prove to anybody that I know what I'm talking about. Everything that I express here is through my own research and my own meditation and my own divine source connection. And I know, I know a lot of people, they don't agree with that, and it's okay. You don't have to agree with it. I know what I do. I know why I do what I do, and that's all that matters. Is I know why I do what I do. Did someone tell Leonardo da Vinci that he couldn't paint? I'm sure a lot of people told him that he couldn't paint, but he painted anyways. Right? Same with Beethoven. I'm sure when he first started playing music, he probably wasn't very good, and look at what Beethoven did. We are a lot of us are really young. I'm only 30, that's young, but a lot of people think their life is over at 30. There are a lot of people that think that their life, what they're living at 30 is all they will ever live for the rest of their life. They sign their life away at 30 years old. And most of the time it's because they went to college and they got all that debt to pay. And so they're working a job to pay off their debt. But they probably don't even like the job they're working. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And really, why do we work? Why do we work? We work to pay bills. And I think that there's like, I understand the purpose of it in our current matrix, but I also dream very often of existing outside of that, existing outside of that type of structure, because it's a box, it's a cube, it's only one way of existence, and there are so many other ways of existence out there, and I think that that's absolutely just beautiful. There's so many ways of existence, and none of them are wrong. That cloud looks angry. You see that? Not angry, but like it's gonna rain. But just think about that too, you know? There's just an infinite amount of ways to exist. And people want to try and box us in so they understand us. But what if trying to understand is what's boxing us in? I'm going to say that again, because I feel like that was a good one. What if trying to understand is what's boxing us in? You can't know the unknown. You can only know that you don't know the unknown, because it's unknown, and there will always be something unknown. You can only know what you know. So, I've found personally that to transcend the box is to go within and find your own light. And then from there, you begin to morph your box into a tetrahedron. And then before you know it, you're walking in your own, like, Merkaba. See the car? Look at that car. Zoom, zoom car. So we're all in a box until we learn how to turn a box to a tetrahedron. And then we're all in this immobile 3D tetrahedron until we learn how to spin the energy. Once we learn how to spin the energy, then we're an ascended being walking in a fifth dimensional earth. 3D is going to stay. 3D isn't going to change. This is 3D. It's going to be 3D till the day we die. 5D is something we bring. We bring the 5D. We are the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is in you. And me, and that person, and all of those other people who probably have no idea what the fifth dimension even fucking is. And what is the fifth dimension? The fifth dimension is unconditional love, where you can see from a neutral perspective all angles of a situation. And that's what the nines taught me, the soul. And it's, you know, it's about looking at yourself in a situation and be like, man, I was really playing the victim there, wasn't I? Ugh. I've had to do that lately, man. I was crying the other day. I was literally crying the other day. I was like, man, I was judging my fucking friends. I did it. I'm guilty of it. I'm not like, and it's not that I was judging them necessarily, right? But I was picking up on energy that they were navigating within their own selves. And what did I do? I took it fucking personal. Q-tip is one of my favorite things. Quit taking it personal. And I'm still learning how to Q-tip it. Because I saw something. You don't always have to, what was it? It's about being empathic and being able to read energy. You don't have to always read what you observe. That's what it is. You don't always have to read what you observe. And that's something that I've been implementing a lot recently, is because I've been hurt a lot in my life. So I've been reading a lot of energy. which has caused me to be a bit nitpicky sometimes, because when you're reading energy, you have to know the frequency that you're dealing with. So that means you begin to know someone and yourself on a deeper level, because everything you're reading is also within you. So if I ever said something about someone else, I have always known that has been within me too, and that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm not bringing it up to say anything bad about them, but I'm bringing it up to reflect it back into myself. And then recognizing that even though I'm reading that energy and that energy is true, I don't have to latch onto it. I can let it go, which is what I've been working on, is letting go. Letting go is not easy, especially when you don't want to be hurt, right? Letting go is not easy, especially when you don't want to be hurt. But if we just observe someone neutrally with love and understand that we are all experiencing our own lives, we can transcend so much. And I've been working on that recently. There have been a few people that I've watched their lives. Nobody that we're connected with, just so you guys know. They're people with thousands and thousands and thousands of followers just spreading hate. But there's been a lot of talk about, for lack of better words, white people. All right? There's a lot of people who are upset at white people and Christianity. And I look white. I mean, I have whiteness in me, if you want to call it white. I'm really kind of like a peach reddish color, so maybe we should get the colors right first. But there's a lot of people just upset, still healing, the trauma. But I've been saying, at some point we have to turn around and recognize that we're all a victim to the same slave owner right now. So not any of us are in a better boat than the other. Because it doesn't matter where you go on Earth, unless you can find some indigenous tribe somewhere in the middle of the woods, we are all we're all owned by the same slave owners. And sometimes that can be hard to grasp. But I mean, look at the structure. If you look at anywhere you look, there's some sort of the same type of structure. And I'm not saying it's bad, there are good places to live that have pure intention, that have kind of combed themselves out of the Western world's latches. But also, the majority of the world is victim to this. And it's mind control. It's a way of thinking. And it's so deeply rooted that most people don't know the difference. And they're considered the sheeple, if you will, which is, no one group of people in any way, shape, or form is safe of this. Like, we are all from the same cloth. We all, we have, our paths are different, and people treat us differently based off of certain things. But think about it. We all do that. Every one of us do that at some point in our lives. We have done that. You wouldn't know the difference if you hadn't done it at some point in time, or heard it, or seen it. You know what I mean? So if we're all aware of that, at some point we just got to start doing it. And I think that's what's being done. It's being done as we speak. But our attention is being pulled to think about certain things. And that's why I keep saying, my guides, they have been telling me to, just really limit the use of limit the use of a lot of things. Technology, limit how much I'm even eating. Like, it's really crazy. Spirituality, yeah. And spirituality in the terms of like a collective consciousness is for everyone. Like we all should have a connection to spirit, whatever it looks like. It could be hoodoo, it could be voodoo, it could be paganism. You could be an atheist, you could be agnostic. You could study Hinduism, you could study Buddhism, you can study Taoism, you can study Christianity if you want, right? They're all theoretically just philosophies on how to ascend yourself on earth. It's just said in certain different ways. And then some of it has been used dogmatically to rule over everyone else. It's interesting, I was watching a documentary. I think it was a documentary done, it was a CNN documentary, and it was on Netflix, but I don't think it's there anymore. And this reporter or journalist went to 5 or 6 different countries and talked about what was taboo in those countries. I'm just going to speak on a few of the most prominent things that stuck out to me. 1, Africa, which is where a lot of people are kind of speaking about the origins of being human, originating from Africa. So, a lot of, the most ancient texts kind of reside there. So, knowing that and understanding that, like, there's a large Christian ideology there. Like this documentary was talking about how, and was showing these billboards, huge, billboard advertising in America. How much is that? It's pretty expensive, right? So there's these billboard advertisements of preachers. You know what the preachers are wearing? Gold necklaces, Rolex watches, looking all night, like posing like a model would pose. And a lot of what that specific episode talked about was how the Christian influence really washed out a lot of their indigenous culture. Sound familiar? So you have that. There was an episode on Hinduism, and the reporter spoke to a group of people, and I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a specific word that is in, I can't remember the dialect now. I think Hebrew, yeah, is in Hebrew, that they, don't quote me on that, I'll have to do more research because I can't remember off the top of my head, but their native language, there's a word for it, but for lack of that word, they spoke to a transgender individual and spoke about the sexual taboo in Hinduism, because, and what happened was, and this is what blew my mind, the people that were talking about these ancient texts, so they had all of these texts that they were showing us. Some of them had never been filmed. Some of them could only be like filmed in a certain way because they didn't want to degrade the quality of print. But like these texts were showing monks masturbating. And they removed all of these books from the main libraries because the Christians, or the white people, were coming. And I was just like, that blew me away to know that not only did those who were different get outcasted because of the prejudice and the judgment of someone else. But then they completely altered and redirected the course of human consciousness because of power and control. If people are sexually free and they understand the power that they have within themselves, they can't be controlled. And the biggest mind control programs on earth right now is the sexual misery program. And it's a lot of it is just, sex being sinful in general. And that, there's a lot of judgment and idea around like bondage and stuff like that being satanic and negative in nature, but in reality it's just expression of the soul. It really is just life force expression. Exactly. Whatever someone else is doing doesn't have to be for you, but it isn't our right to judge it. And we were it's interesting. I really do. I love how things have just changed and unfolded, and just put me in my own place. And I really enjoy being put in my own place, honestly. But there were a few of us sitting outside. It was my roommate T, my wife Carmela, and our friend Shalarn, and myself. And we were all sitting outside, and we were just talking. Just sitting. We literally do that in the mornings. We just sit outside in the sun, and we'll commune with Mother Ganja sometimes. They usually we commune with Mother Ganja. I don't always partake, but sometimes, most of the time I do. So we were communing and just being in nature and not living with judgment. Because I'm being very serious. Like, we have to stop judging ourselves. If you don't want to do something, don't do it. If you enjoy what you're doing, continue to do it. The moment that you don't continue to enjoy it, stop doing it. But we have to release the idea that there's always something that needs to be fixed. Because you are beautiful the way that you are. Nothing needs to be fixed. There's nothing wrong. Right? I found that healing is done best when we do. And what does that mean? It's like, I can sit around and say I'm healing this, I'm healing that, meditating on this, I'm meditating on that. All I want. I can go see a Reiki practitioner. All I want. I can get my energy balanced. All I want. I can get them to reprogram my subconscious. All I want. I can get someone else to do all of that. All I want. But nothing will change until I do something different in my life. So, meditation helps. It helps you bring the idea from the higher realms to the lower. From your mind to your heart. Or from your heart to your mind, really. It's really a cohesive connection. But you develop the idea there. And then, once you've developed, you've talked about it all you need to, you've let go, you've done it. At some point you start living life. And that's when the real healing starts, because that's when you start getting triggered and you have to move through things in real time. Because if we always remain tied to living as if we have PTSD, or, if that makes sense, right? Or living like we have healing to do, we miss a lot of the point of life. The point of life is experience. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel love. You're going to feel fear, guilt, jealousy, resentment. All of those emotional states of being exist. You're going to feel them. You're going to experience them. That's the color of life. Emotion is as far as I've found, emotion is like 50% of the whole purpose of existence, if not the majority of it. Because what is life without emotion? Cold and heartless. And I don't know about you, but I'm wearing a tank top and I see the trees blooming, and it's a lot of love right there. And again, right? If we weren't meant to feel, or we weren't meant to have emotions, and that wasn't a large portion of our existence, then there wouldn't be so much pull and draw to control them. Controlling our emotions controls our mind. Because if you keep us trapped in our lower energy field, our first 3 chakras, then, and that's why I say, like, the sexual misery program is one of the biggest mind control programs we have in existence on Earth today, because it kind of stems from, like, that energy is kind of where our kundalini is. So think about this. I had this conversation with my wife the other day, because our godchildren are uncircumcised, and my brother actually is circumcised, now that I think about it. But circumcision for the male-bodied individual is literally one of the first forms of rape, if you want to get strict, like you want to get to the nitty-gritty of it. Because you're going in with a soul being's body, you go into a soul being's body who doesn't have the ability to voice their own consent, and you're saying that something's wrong with their body. That's not supposed to be there. That's unclean. And then society wants to wonder why so many beings have such a hard time with certain things. Well, they probably don't even realize that that's a trauma. That something traumatic happened to them when they was a baby, because it's just norm. And you're right, it probably won't be as common soon, because a lot of people are catching on to that. A lot of people are awakening to what that is doing to human consciousness. But I speak about this because I've been, like, as a child, as a baby, I was molested, which is fucking weird to even say that that's a thing that can happen, but it happened. And I have memories of it, which is wild to think that, you can have memories like that from being a baby, but yeah, it happened. It's a thing. But if, it just shows you that it's happening across the board. It's not like no one's free of what's happened. Like, we all have our own stuff. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter literally where you come from on Earth or in the stars. We're all on Earth to experience the oneness of being human. So, yeah. I think that's about all I got. I'm about to be home. I can feel the energy wrapping up. Like I said, I wasn't even expecting to come on live. I've really been just evaluating where my heart's at, and just making sure that I am in the right space, and I am where I want to be in my life. And I think that it's really important that we all do that. And to be honest, I don't think enough people take enough time to really reflect on their lives and what they're doing and what they're building. I feel a lot of people, they get lost in the sauce. And it's easy to get lost in our ego because it feels good, I'll tell you now, spirituality is not fun. it is fun in all sense of the word, but when you really, really get down to what's the purpose of spirituality, the spirituality is meant to expand you, and expansion is spreading you thin so you can come back together to be spread thin again. But it's to make you stronger, to build you. So that's probably why a lot of people have the vibe they do around the Love and Light crew, because a lot of individuals in the Love and Light field don't always know what it's like to see the darkness. But that's not to say that they haven't. It just may be they could be polarizing themselves so they don't have to experience it ever again, but it just doesn't go away. So, yeah. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in on my lovely walk. I'm gonna go chill, drink some water. Infinite love, infinite light, infinite balance, and infinite movement, my friends. Namaste.